This week, we're hitting a milestone, episode 50 of the Calimesa Insider Podcast. To celebrate the occasion, we are out on location and we're going on a journey through time, from indigenous roots to incorporation, from master plan communities to the rise of warehouses. We'll explore not just what has shaped Calimesa, but how decisions, past, present, and future, will determine what kind of community we continue to be. So let's get started.
This is the Calimesa Insider Podcast, the original Pass Area City podcast, focusing on the ins and outs of your city government at work. And now here's the host of Calimesa Insider, City Manager Will Kolbow.
Hello again, and welcome to the program. It's our 50th episode, and we are celebrating 35 years of being a city. So we're going to take a look at how we got to where we are, starting with our Native American roots, looking at the twists and turns that brought us into cityhood, and how we became the next frontier of the century-long development boom of Southern California. And what a better place to do it here in Keel Canyon, one of the most beautiful parts of Calimesa. And rest assured, how you see it behind me today is how it will remain, as it is part of the Western Riverside County Regional Conservation Authority, the largest landowner by acreage in Calimesa. But before we get to that, here's my new assistant, Elizabeth, who, in full disclosure, is an AI avatar, to give you a preview of our next City Council meeting.
Thanks, Will. Our next City Council meeting will take place this Monday, June 16th at 6 p.m. at the Norton Young Love Senior Center. In this meeting, the City Council will be considering a CPI adjustment to the city's master fee schedule. We'll hear a report on staffing vacancies as required by a new Assembly Bill, AB 2561, that went into effect January 1st, 2025. Finally, the big item of the night will be the adoption of the fiscal year 2025-26 budget. You can attend live and in person, or watch live or on demand on the city's YouTube page at calimesa.gov/YouTube. Back to you, Will.
Thank you, Elizabeth. By the way, if you're watching us on YouTube and you haven't done it already, make sure to hit that subscribe button and also hit the bell icon so you never miss any of our shows. I'm excited to announce that Popsicles in the Park is back and will take place this Thursday, June 19th at noon at 4th Street Park. This event is free and open to all ages. Bring your friends, wear your sunscreen, and get ready for water balloon tosses, relays, hula hoop contests, and of course, delicious popsicles. For those that live on the south side of town, no need to worry. We will also be hosting a second Popsicles at the Park on Thursday, July 10th, also at noon at Summerwind Park. No registration needed. Just show up and enjoy the summer vibes. Popsicles are available while supplies last. Finally, the Calimesa Joint Unified School District Child Nutrition Summer Lunch Program is back, and we're excited to invite families to join us for Summer 2025 Picnic at the Park. It started this past Tuesday and will run Monday through Friday through July 18th. It will take place at 4th Street Park from 10:30 a.m. to 11 a.m. Please note that there will be no meal service on June 19th, June 20th, or July 4th. Lunch meals are free for all children 18 years and younger. No registration required. Just drop by, grab a meal, and enjoy fun activities planned throughout the summer in partnership with local agencies and the Calimesa Library. Special weekly activities include library pop-up days, meet our farmer from Old Grove Orange, healthy living fun with Riverside County Public Health, interactive games, and more. For more information, contact the school district at 909-797-0174 or visit childnutrition-ycjusd.com. Okay, let's get to today's history lesson. This episode is partially inspired by a listener who asked me to do a show about the history of Calimesa. I always had that in mind to do a show like this, and I'm glad to know that there is interest in the community as well. So sit back, relax, while I take you on a trip through time. Long before Calimesa appeared on any map, the Yucaipa Valley was home to the Serrano and Cahuilla peoples. The Serrano, whose name means mountaineer in Spanish, lived in the northern portion of the valley, today's Yucaipa, while the Cahuilla settled around Cherry Valley in the San Gorgonio Pass area, just south of modern-day Calimesa. The Serrano referred to the region as Yucaipat, or wetlands, due to its springs and relatively abundant water. These communities were well-established, thriving on the natural resources, oak acorns, fresh water, game, and fertile lands. By the 1770s, Spanish explorers and missionaries began passing through. Juan Bautista de Anza's 1774 expedition opened land routes from the interior to the California coast. The San Gabriel Mission eventually set up ranch outposts in the region, including a rancheria in Cherry Valley. These changes marked the start of a cultural and political shift that would reshape the valley for centuries to come. During the Mexican Rancho era of the mid-1800s, the Yucaipa Valley was part of Rancho San Bernardino, and rancheros like Diego Sepulveda grazed cattle here. After California became a U.S. territory, American settlers continued cattle ranching on the open mesa lands. In fact, prior to homesteaders arriving, much of the area that would become Calimesa was used for cattle grazing. Large swaths of land were even granted to a state surveyor as a payment when California's treasury was low. Only later were these lands opened up to homestead claims. This ranching legacy left an imprint of open range and rural character that would define Calimesa for decades. In the late 19th and early 20th centuries, travel through this area followed old trails and stagecoach routes. A stagecoach from Redlands ran through San Mateo Canyon and Singleton Canyon, dropping into Cherry Valley and stopping in what is now Calimesa. One such stop, which is right behind me up the road, at the end of Singleton Road, earned the nickname Stagecoach Road. By 1910, the local ranchers even took petition to preserve this trail as a stock driveway, reflecting how sparsely populated and pastoral the region was. Modern Calimesa began coalescing as a distinct settlement in the 1920s. At the time, the area was often considered part of the greater Yucaipa community, but residents on the South Bench sought their own identity and services. In June 1929, about 100 residents gathered to choose a unique name so they could apply for a local post office. They coined Calimesa, blending Cali for California and Mesa, Spanish for plateau. The name referenced the region's broad, table-like highlands and satisfied postal authorities as being distinct. With that, Calimesa established its first post office in 1929 inside Bill Bailey's grocery store at Calimesa Boulevard and Avenue K, which is the pink building you still see there today. This act formalized Calimesa as a community separate from Yucaipa, even though it remained unincorporated. By 1930, Calimesa appeared on highway maps as a small stop between Redlands and Beaumont along US 99, the main highway through the San Gorgonio Pass. During the 1930s and 40s, Calimesa remained a small rural town. Many residents farmed or ranched, and the settlement had a close-knit country feel. The opening of US 99, today's I-10, through Calimesa in the mid-20th century brought a few roadside businesses and travel stops, which helped give Calimesa a budding commercial strip distinct from uptown Yucaipa. By the 1950s, Calimesa had its own Chamber of Commerce, evolving from the Early Improvement Association formed in the 1940s, and a volunteer fire department. Yet governance and major services were still provided by Riverside County, since the town was not an incorporated city. Residents on the Riverside County side cooperated with San Bernardino County neighbors on some services, more on that later. Such arrangements underscored that Calimesa and Yucaipa were one community divided by a county line. This would soon have major implications as both areas moved towards cityhood. Calimesa and Yucaipa share more than geography. They share history, infrastructure, and even a street grid. While Yucaipa had its own Parks and Recreation District, which became the foundation for the city's Parks and Recreation Department when Yucaipa incorporated, County Service Area 74 in Calimesa and the Calimesa Chamber of Commerce partnered with Yucaipa's Parks District to fund the construction and maintenance of Calimesa Park, which is now known as Avenue I Park. CSA 74 was also integral in the construction of a community center, now known as the Norton Young Love Senior Center, which opened a few months before Calimesa's incorporation. The Yucaipa Valley is made up of three broad terraces. The north and central benches became part of Yucaipa, while the southern bench became known as Calimesa. This division became more pronounced in the late 20th century due to a quirk in California law. Unlike in a lot of states, cities cannot cross county lines. County Line Road, a street familiar to all of us, became a literal and symbolic divider. In fact, many places that carried Calimesa's name, including parks and even Calimesa Elementary School, ended up in the city of Yucaipa following its incorporation in 1989. That's because, to avoid leaving unincorporated pockets and running afoul of local agency formation laws, Yucaipa annexed right up to the county line. What remained, and what we now know as Calimesa, was left to figure out its own political identity. But the connection between the two communities has never truly faded. In the late 1980s, both communities sought local control over rapid growth and local issues. Yucaipa led the way, voting to incorporate on November 27, 1989. One major catalyst for Yucaipa's cityhood was a desire to manage development and even enact policies like mobile home rent control that county government had been reluctant to address. Calimesa residents, watching their northern neighbors chart its own destiny, soon felt it was time to do the same. In 1989, the Calimesa Chamber of Commerce formed a citizen committee to pursue incorporation. This grassroots effort, accomplished with volunteer labor and without pricey consultants, paid off when Calimesa officially became a city on December 1st, 1990. Several reasons drove Calimesa's incorporation. Foremost was the community's desire for a self-determination. As an unincorporated town, Calimesa had been split between two counties and lacked a unified voice. Cityhood promised control over zoning, infrastructure, and the preservation of the area's rural character. There was also a concern that, had Calimesa remained unincorporated, surrounding cities or the county might approve unwanted developments or annex chunks of the community. The influence of longtime Riverside County Supervisor Norton Younglove is frequently noted in Calimesa's journey. Younglove, known for his integrity and dedication to local communities, had represented the San Gorgonio Pass area, which includes Calimesa, for many years. He supported local initiatives in infrastructure. The city's multipurpose senior center proudly bears his name today. His advocacy for balanced growth in parks, indeed a 640-acre nature preserve in the region is named after him, gave Calimesa leaders a model for responsible local governance. In short, Yucaipa and Calimesa both incorporated to preserve their small-town identities and to take charge of planning decisions, with figures like Norton Younglove helping to guide the vision. Calimesa's cityhood came soon after the incorporation of its northern neighbor for good reason. The two communities' fates have always been intertwined. Around the same time as Calimesa's push for cityhood, a monumental development proposal was taking shape on the city's outskirts. In October 1988, Riverside County approved the Oak Valley Specific Plan, a master plan for a massive 10-plus square mile tract in the unincorporated hills between Calimesa and Beaumont. The plan, spearheaded by Oak Valley Partners, entitled the developers to build up to 13,000 single-family homes on the rolling Mesa land. To put that in perspective, if built out, Oak Valley's population would have exceeded the populations combined for both Calimesa and Beaumont at the time. The specific plan area stretched across what was then empty ranch land and scrub, envisioning entire new neighborhoods, schools, parks, and commercial centers. For a small new city like Calimesa, barely 8,000 residents in 1990, the Oak Valley Specific Plan represented a vital foundation for economic survival. In fact, the northern two-thirds of the Oak Valley area were intentionally included within Calimesa's boundaries of incorporation, precisely because city leaders and county officials, including Supervisor Norton Younglove, understood that the city would need this future tax base to sustain itself. The plan envisioned thousands of homes and significant commercial areas offering property and sales tax that Calimesa, which then had few retail centers of its own, desperately needed. On the other hand, the full build-out of 13,000 homes raised serious questions about infrastructure capacity and how to preserve Calimesa's rural character. While the northern portions of Oak Valley were secured within Calimesa, the southern third remained under county jurisdiction, and that's where conflict arose. This portion included land planned for a golf course and several thousand homes. Given its strategic location and development potential, both Calimesa and Beaumont began to maneuver for control over it. The stakes were high. Control over even a part of this last remaining section could mean significant additional tax revenue and long-term influence over the region's growth. What followed was a protracted and sometimes contentious annexation dispute over who would ultimately govern this final piece of Oak Valley. Through the 1990s, the southern third of Oak Valley remained under county authority, even as development plans advanced. The Riverside County Local Agency Formation Commission, or LAFCO, had initially placed this section in Beaumont's sphere of influence, the area a city is expected to annex in the future. But Calimesa wasn't about to relinquish this last remaining portion without a fight, especially since it had been excluded from the city's original boundary solely because of pending development approvals at the time of incorporation. In 1997, Calimesa and Beaumont attempted to negotiate a friendly split. According to a July 23, 1997 agreement, Beaumont would relinquish its claim to the portion surrounding the planned golf course so that Calimesa could annex it in the future. The goal was to honor Calimesa's role in the original vision for Oak Valley and allow both cities to benefit more equitably. The two cities jointly asked LAFCO to adjust their sphere of influences accordingly. However, for various reasons, primarily due to conflicts with Oak Valley Partners and Calimesa's anti-growth stance at the time, Calimesa did not immediately pursue the annexation. Then in 2002, as development pressure intensified, Calimesa moved to revive the process. By that time, Beaumont's posture had changed because Oak Valley Partners, due to those conflicts with Calimesa, had asked Beaumont to pursue annexation. Seeing the opportunity to expand and secure a larger share of future growth, Beaumont initiated its own annexation plans for the same area, effectively walking away from the earlier agreement. This reignited tensions. Calimesa officials feeling the agreement had been undermined, threatened legal action against both Beaumont and LAFCO to enforce the 1997 deal. This dispute escalated quickly, with strong rhetoric exchanged between the two councils. At the heart of the matter was the 2.7 square mile area that included the anticipated golf court resort and roughly 4,000 homes. For Calimesa, it was not only a matter of fairness, but also of long-term financial viability. Eventually, in late 2002, the two sides reached an unconventional settlement. Calimesa agreed to withdraw its annexation application and allow Beaumont to move forward with annexing the contested land. In return, Beaumont and the developer, Oak Valley Partners, agreed to financially compensate Calimesa. This included a one-time payment of $100,000 and a $100 per home surcharge for each of the 4,000 homes to be built. More importantly, the two cities entered into a revenue-sharing agreement. For the next 15 years, Calimesa would receive 50% of the sales and property tax revenue generated by new commercial development in the area, and for 25 years, they would share hotel tax revenue from any future resort. As a symbolic concession, Beaumont also ceded a small 1-acre parcel near an existing shopping center, which Calimesa annexed. While some critics describe this deal as a tax shakedown for Calimesa, it was a pragmatic solution to avoid costly litigation and salvage some financial benefit from an area it had long considered integral to its future. By early 2003, the jurisdictional dispute was resolved. The southern third of Oak Valley, including the golf course, will become part of Beaumont, while the Calimesa retained the larger share of the original plan and secured compensation to help offset the loss. Once Beaumont secured the remaining Oak Valley lands, they moved quickly on that side of the fence. Freed from jurisdictional limbo, developers broke ground on houses sprouted up by the thousands in what had been open fields. During the 2000s, Beaumont experienced explosive growth. It seemed like new tract homes, schools, and parks were popping up every month. The portion of Oak Valley that fell under Beaumont's control became home to master plan neighborhoods, such as Tournament Hills and Fairway Canyon, transforming Beaumont from a sleepy town of 11,000 into a bustling young city. A centerpiece of this development was the Championship Golf Complex, originally envisioned in the plan. It opened as the PGA of Southern California Golf Club at Oak Valley, and soon gained renown as a high-end 36-hole golf facility. A few years later, the Morongo Band of Mission Indians partnered with the club, and today it's known as Morongo Golf Club at Tuckwood Canyon, still serving as the home course for the Southern California PGA. This beautiful golf course with its rolling greens and clubhouse is physically located on the south side of I-10 near Calimesa, but thanks to the annexation, it contributes to Beaumont's city limits and tax rolls. Beaumont's ability to greenlight development also meant retail and commercial projects sprang up along with the homes. Large shopping centers, restaurants, and even some light industrial parks appeared, rapidly expanding Beaumont's economy. What about the parts of Oak Valley that Calimesa did retain? The original specific plan covered more land than just the slice Beaumont annexed. In fact, much of the Oak Valley project area remained on Calimesa's side of the line. Over time, this vast expanse was reorganized into two major master plan communities that exist today: Summerwind Ranch at Oak Valley and Mesa Verde. Essentially, these two projects are the successors of the old Oak Valley specific plan within Calimesa. If you look at a map, Summerwind Ranch occupies the southern and central portions of Calimesa's undeveloped land, closer to Beaumont and along the I-10 corridor, while Mesa Verde spans a huge area in the northwestern part of Calimesa, stretching towards the Live Oak Canyon area. Together, they account for thousands of acres of what was once envisioned as Oak Valley. Summerwind Ranch, also sometimes known as Summerwind Trails, went through years of planning challenges but is now well underway. It covers roughly 2,590 acres and received entitlements for around 3,000 plus homes, along with schools, parks, and a large town center commercial district. Mesa Verde is similarly large, about 1,460 acres, and its full build-out was originally entitled for up to 3,650 homes, 250,000 square feet of commercial space, schools, and hundreds of acres of open space. These numbers closely mirror what Oak Valley specific plan had outlined, just divided into two separate communities. Interestingly, the Mesa Verde area had been the subject of its own specific plan even before Oak Valley was conceived. In other words, years earlier there was a plan on the books under a different name to develop that northwestern Calimesa tract. Those older plans never materialized at the time, and Oak Valley Partners eventually folded Mesa Verde into their grand 1988 proposal. Today, the legacy is apparent. Summerwind Ranch is essentially Oak Valley Specific Area Plan Area 1, and Mesa Verde is Area 2. Each had its own specific plan documentation and development timeline, but both traced their roots to the late 80s Oak Valley vision. Fast forward to today, and Calimesa carefully managed the growth of Summerwind Ranch and Mesa Verde, albeit not without bumps in the road. For Summerwind Ranch's residential portions have been advancing steadily in phases. New neighborhoods by builders like Lennar and D.R. Horton and others have already built hundreds of new homes, welcoming many new families to Calimesa. Parks and even a new K-8 school have opened as part of this master plan. However, the ambitious Oak Valley Town Center, a large retail and commercial hub planned within Summerwind, has hit significant hurdles. The town center was supposed to be the economic heart of the community, featuring shopping, dining, and possible offices or a business park on about 219 acres near the freeway. Unfortunately, the original developer behind the retail center fell into financial trouble and went bankrupt in 2024. This left the site partially improved, but not built out, effectively stalling the project. The city is now entangled in legal action to resolve the situation. In mid-2024, Calimesa has even sued the project's performance bond company to release funds to complete infrastructure at the town center. Until those improvements, roads, drainage, and things like that, are finished, new businesses can't set up shop. So at the moment, Oak Valley Town Center is on hold, a victim of a developer bankruptcy that has delayed the retail core that Calimesa has long anticipated. Over the Mesa Verde tract, development is yet to break ground, but big changes are afoot. The Mesa Verde plan had existed on paper for years. It was fully entitled back in 2007, yet no homes have been built there to date. The land passed through different owners, and its sheer scale meant it needed the right timing. Currently, the property is owned by a development investment firm called Shop Off Realty, and they have put forward a major re-entitlement request to modernize the plan. The most significant proposed change, adding a huge logistics and industrial component. The new Mesa Verde amendment would still allow up to 3,650 homes, but it seeks to add approximately 4.2 million square feet of warehouse and logistic facilities, essentially creating a massive business park alongside those residents. It also increased the allotment for commercial space to about 300,000 square feet and includes schools, parks, and a 5-acre site for either a fire station, public works yard, or city hall in the mix. This would dramatically change the character of the project, introducing an employment center and capitalizing on the demand for distribution centers. The city of Calimesa is in process of reviewing this proposal. An extensive subsequent environmental impact report is expected to be released soon, examining the effects of adding the industrial space. As of now, the Mesa Verde reboot is under public scrutiny. If approved, it could kickstart development there at long last, but with a very different balance of land uses. Another project, Oak Valley North, aimed to introduce nearly 1 million square feet of warehouse space and several hundred apartments. Located near I-10, the project never reached final approval and has since been withdrawn. Community opposition and a cooling industrial market led to its demise. One notable outcome of Calimesa's slower development is the preservation of open space and rural character, at least relative to its booming neighbors. Driving through Calimesa, you can still see rolling hills, stands of native oak trees, and broad vistas with relatively few buildings, especially once you leave the I-10 corridor. For decades, the city deliberately managed growth to avoid the kind of rapid sprawl seen elsewhere in the Inland Empire. In earlier years, this meant fewer tax dollars and amenities, but it kept Calimesa quiet, uncrowded, and close to nature. Large swaths of land in Calimesa remained as ranches and simply undeveloped, which many residents appreciated. The city's general plan and hillside development ordinances emphasize open space conservation and maintaining a small town feel. In contrast, Beaumont and nearby cities like Moreno Valley and Redlands built out shopping centers and large subdivisions much sooner. Calimesa was sometimes dubbed sleepy, but that slow growth approach has left it with even more open landscape even in 2025. In fact, about 25% of the city's total land area has already been dedicated to permanent open space, and that number will grow with proposed developments. However, the development game is changing, and Calimesa is not immune to broader economic trends. The rise of e-commerce has profoundly altered what commercial development looks like. Whereas the city's tax base in the past might have come from malls, big box retail, or auto dealerships, today much of the action and revenue lies in distribution warehouses and fulfillment centers that serve online shopping. Brick-and-mortar retail has struggled, a factor that likely contributed to the stagnation of Calimesa's planned town center. Traditional retail developers pulled back and the project floundered. Though officially dead, the Oak Valley North project exemplifies the pressures Calimesa faces in the era of e-commerce. As traditional retail declines, brick and mortar grew only 22% over 12 years, compared to 550% growth in online shopping in the same time frame. Developers increasingly push for warehouse development. Additionally, as one commercial real estate report noted, every $1 billion in new online sales demands hundreds of thousands of square feet of warehouse space. As a result, demand for warehouse space in the Inland Empire has skyrocketed as companies seek ever more facilities to store and ship products sold online. Calimesa finds itself at the crossroads of this trend. Its location along Interstate 10 makes it attractive for logistics. We're seeing proposals to build big box warehouses in places that earlier plans had reserved for shops or office parks. For example, the Oak Valley North and Mesa Verde logistics proposals are responses to the hot warehouse market. The economic promise is significant. Logistics centers can bring jobs and property tax income, and they don't rely on local resident spending the retail does. But they also raise concerns about traffic, noise, and environmental impacts. Calimesa's challenge is to balance these factors neutrally, recognizing that consumer habits like one-click online shopping drive the demand for more regional warehouses. As more shopping shifts online, even small cities consider zoning land for distribution centers to capture some benefit of this e-commerce boom, lest they miss out on development entirely. In practical terms, Calimesa has begun to cautiously embrace some warehouse and industrial development while debating others. Where has it been approved? The city's major approved industrial area is within the Summerwind Ranch Pacific area. The 219-acre Oak Valley Town Center isn't just retail. It was always planned to include a business park component. In fact, the current litigation over that project involves completing streets and utilities for a business park and commercial center. Once the legal and financial issues are resolved, the business park area is entitled and ready for companies, including warehouse and distribution center users, to build. Additionally, just outside of Calimesa's borders lies a recently completed 1.8 million square foot warehouse complex consisting of 2 buildings along Cherry Valley Boulevard. Where is it being proposed? The 2 biggest pending proposals are the ones we've discussed. The now dead Oak Valley North Plan, warehouses south of Singleton Road near I-10, and the Mesa Verde Specific Plan Amendment adding roughly 4 million square feet of logistics space on the north side of the city. Oak Valley North, had it proceeded, would have placed 4 warehouse buildings nearly 1 million square feet total just north of the freeway. That project has been formally withdrawn. Mesa Verde's warehouse proposal is newer and will go through full environmental scrutiny. It's a massive undertaking that would create an industrial park larger than many in the region, right on previously untouched land. As of now, no decision has been made. It's a flashpoint for how Calimesa will develop. It's important to put these local decisions in context of a broader consumer trend. The appetite for warehouses is directly tied to our collective shopping habits. As consumers expect faster delivery and a plethora of products at their doorstep, companies need more distribution nodes. The Inland Empire has already become one of the nation's largest warehouse hubs because it's ideally situated near the ports of Los Angeles and Long Beach, and has relatively cheaper land by Southern California standards. Calimesa, once considered on the far fringe, is now firmly on developers' radar due to I-10 connectivity. The proposals here mirror what's happening across the region. Farmland or open space being eyed for giant fulfillment centers and trucking facilities to feed the e-commerce supply chain. City leaders in Calimesa are framing these discussions neutrally, trying to weigh the quality of life against economic growth. They know residents value open space and cleaner air, but they also recognize that consumer demand for instant delivery isn't going away, and with it comes pressure for more warehouses, not to mention demands from those very same residents for enhanced city services. In conclusion, Calimesa's historical slow growth approach preserved a lot of what makes the area special, its natural beauty and tight-knit feel. Now, as the city finally grows into its long-planned developments, it faces 21st century development dilemmas. The story of Calimesa is one of balancing heritage with progress, from its Native American roots in early pioneer days through incorporation battles with Yucaipa and Beaumont and into the present era of master plans and mega warehouses. It's a nuanced history that shows how even a small city can be shaped by larger economic forces, all while striving to maintain its own identity. Calimesa today stands at a crossroads, much as it did in 1990 and 2003, and the decisions made now will become the next chapter in the rich historical tapestry of this community. So thank you for joining us for this special in-depth look at Calimesa's past, present, and possible futures. The Calimesa Insider Podcast is part of our ongoing effort to keep residents informed and engaged. And speaking of informed, our next City Council meeting will take place this Monday, June 16th, starting at 6 p.m. at the Norton Young Love Senior Center. The public is always welcome in person, but if you can't make it, you can watch the meeting live or on demand at the city's YouTube channel at calimesa.gov/YouTube. The full agenda for the meeting can be found at calimesa.gov/agenda center. If you're watching this podcast on YouTube, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode. Follow the podcast on both Instagram and TikTok, where you can find us at Calimesa Insider, all one word. Finally, if you prefer the audio version of the podcast, you can find us on all major platforms by just searching for Calimesa Insider, or you can simply go to calimesa.gov/podcast and you will be able to find all the links there and more. Until next time, thanks again for joining us, and we will talk to you again soon. Take care.